Hi, hey, everybody. What's going on? Leon LeGray back uh, for episode 182 of the Leon LeGray podcast. Your host, as always, Leon LeGray, back with a brand new podcast for this week, Friday the 13th. Yeah, but in all seriousness, it's Friday the 13th. So that is May 13th, 2022. I hope you guys are having a very good Friday. And if not, hopefully you'll make it out to turn it out better. Who knows? But so I just want to let everybody know that if we're in this episode, I think this is going to be a very important episode that you guys want to listen to. And the funny thing about um, this episode that I'm going to be discussing on today's podcast is automation. Uh, and automation is coming and the useless class. Basically, when I say useless class, I mean the working class. And that's right. The working class that's basically going to get screwed over the long term. And I and if you're shaking your head thinking, wait, the useless class, isn't that just a bit disrespectful to call the lower class useless class? Yes, it is actually, and I'll say this because it is a very disrespectful thing to say or call those people useless class because there's a lot to be said about this, and I'm gonna go over pretty much a speech I heard about from. Actually, funny enough, the first time I've heard about this was from a comedian called Jamie Kennedy. Now, if you've not heard of Jamie Kennedy before, I definitely recommend checking his episodes out, and please, I definitely recommend checking out his work. If you've not, and plus, he's talked about over in his podcast, and something I wanted to go over on today's episode, which I think it would be a great discussion, which I think it's going to be great to talk about what's going to happen to a lot of people. In fact, currently, right now, I'm working over on a retail right now for clothing. And now I used to actually about over a week ago, I used to work over at restaurants. And to me, I don't know how fast this will change, but I definitely can tell that things are going to change much faster than you think. So before we begin on today's episode of 182 of the Leon LeGray podcast, and I wanted to go ahead and first talk about today's sponsorship, and I wanted to go ahead and talk about a few other my sponsorship before we continue on to the main story. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about Brave. If you've not heard of Brave, which I'm sure you guys should have heard about Brave by now, after all the things I've said about Brave many times throughout my episodes. If you're looking for a good browser to block all the YouTube ads, all that nonsense, or if you're looking for a good web browser that has an ad blocker built into it, Brave does a good job, and they're always improving all the time. Which, believe me, I use Brave on a daily basis, and I haven't switched back to Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, whatever. I love Brave. And go ahead, check out Brave, and the link is down in the description below. So go ahead and click down the referral link down below, so that way you can download Brave onto your iOS phone, your desktop, your laptop, or whatever device you're using it on. Go ahead, download it, and click on it, and I hope you enjoy it too. Next on today's sponsorship, this one has to go over to a long-time sponsor that I've gone through and I stuck around with for about a few years now, and that is Zennies. If you're looking for good glasses, they offer non-prescription and prescription glasses, And if you know what's your pupillary dialect uh, or pupillary distance, excuse me, go ahead, put down the numbers, and check out Zenith, because you will not regret it. Because trust me, I have to use blue light glasses whenever I'm working or playing games, whatever that I'm doing in the computer for a long time. Which to me, I love Zenith, and Zenith has great selections of glasses. So for all you listeners, go ahead, check them out. The next on the podcast sponsorship is Blueberry. That's right. I've been saying Blueberry for a long time. If you've not checked out Blueberry, you should, guys, check out Blueberry, because believe me, if you're looking to start a podcast, believe me, it is very easy to start a podcast. And Blueberry, I've been with them as a sponsor for a very long time. They've been around since for a very, very long time, and I definitely recommend checking out Blueberry. I've used Blueberry in the past for statistics, and I will soon be using Blueberry to host my show on there very, very soon. So that won't be long until I get things worked out and planned. So go ahead, check out Blueberry. And if you don't like Blueberry within your 30 days, you can just cancel at any time. No pressure whatsoever. Go ahead, check out Blueberry. What are you waiting for? Now it's time to get on with the main story with automation. Automation, which this is going to be a very big topic. I mean, down not just within 1 year, but over time, a lot of people are going to talk about the automation and what it's going to do with the current job market. How a lot of the working class are going to end up dealing with replacement. And the reason, like I've said from the very beginning, why I wanted to talk about this was because of a comedian I follow up for a very long time, since the early 2000s. And, I can't believe a comedian will bring up the subject of automation. And he's not even a tech channel. He's just a freaking comedian of all things. And I've been a big fan of his work since the early 2000s. I would say late 90s as well, since I had remember watching horror films or thriller films, watching Scream. And that's what I remembered about Jamie Kennedy for a very long time. So if you've not checked out his work, real fun guy to watch and a great comedian. He definitely gives out great laughs, which I definitely recommend as well. So go ahead, check his work out too. So anyways, back into the subject of automation. I wanted to bring this up because, for one, I wanted to go and speak about this because one thing the comedian Jamie Kennedy that he's mentioned, which I thought it was true, and I remember watching this on channel up on YouTube about basically it's a channel that they talk about nothing but Tesla, and a lot of people that don't understand with automation that it is happening sooner than anyone would know it. And the fact is that automation or the robots will end up coming in probably less than 10 years prior. And I could tell you that this is going to hit hard for a lot of the working class. And even though at the beginning I was against it, because I was against the whole thing, because I know a lot of people may say that, oh, this is not going to happen to me. That's not going to happen. Well, unfortunately, it will happen in our lifetimes, and very, very truthfully, and I'm not going to discourage anyone for those that are looking for work or looking to. I'm not against anyone that is going to college or anything like on that fact. My thing about this is that if you're in college right now and you're thinking, well, I'm going to go to college and get a doctorate or you go ahead and get the degree in construction, and or get a degree in cooking. I hate to break it, but that's going to be replaced. And the sooner that you know that those jobs that you and I and all of us humans done about that we've done basically all our lives, it will be taken over. and and a lot of people, well, I could tell you there's going to be a rebellion against this, having to fight off the machine. And literally, when I say machine, I think it's going to end up really nasty, where a lot of people are going to get out. There's no productivity and all that sort of stuff too, which I think that's going to hurt a lot of people the long run. Which, if you think about it too, it's like, what are these people are going to do when they have no jobs? And now in this clip, this is something really important that I found from the World Economic Forum. I think this is really, really important to take a good listen to.
And when you look back in history, people constantly compare the threat of automation and job loss in the 21st century to what happened in the 20th century. In the 20th century, you saw automation in agriculture, so lots of unemployed farm workers moved to working in industry. And then when automation reached the industries, they moved to working as cashiers at Walmart. But in those cases, what happened was that people lost low-skilled jobs and transferred to other low-skilled jobs. Moving from being an agricultural worker to working in some car factory in Detroit, you moved from one low-skilled job to another low-skilled job. When you lost your job at the Detroit car factory and got a new job as a cashier at Walmart, again, you moved from a low-skilled job to a low-skilled job.
And in fact, he is quite right about this too. 100% right, and he's not wrong, because what he is saying is quite assuring that he is pretty much 100%. I mean, when people back then we used to work on those factories, like the Fords, the GMs, I mean, those were hard working labor jobs. Then again, I don't know how it was to work over at Ford or GM. And again, that was a very different time back then. And I'm sure there were very hard working companies, and plus having to go through the labor, assembling a car. Yeah, tough work. And this guy is right. I mean, look of all these people, where are they right now? I'm sure right now they're comfortable with working over at retail, or being a cash register at Walmart. Again, this is what is happening, and he's not wrong at all. Definitely not wrong. And we're gonna go continue on forward with this too, because I will give my extent of what I think about the whole commentary, which I think it is quite interesting what he says in this speech.
But the next stage, if the next stage means I'm losing my job at 45 as a cashier at Walmart, and now there is an opening as a software engineer at Google designing virtual worlds, this is going to be much more difficult than moving from the car factory to Walmart. And it's very likely that even if there are new jobs, most of the unemployed masses will not be able to make the transition. It's also a big question about young people, that nobody really knows what the job market would be like in 20 or 30 years. It's really the first time in history when nobody has any idea what kind of jobs and what kind of skills people will need in 30 years. Which means that we have absolutely no idea what to teach children at school.
Now, this is the part where I find this part of the speech sad, because we're bringing in children that are looking for brand new jobs, not children, excuse me. Well, brand new faces in the workforce, young adults from 17 and between 17 and to their early 20s. And now that's the question, what's it going to happen? And I know that at this point, right now, being a developer with, like he says, Google, Apple, Microsoft, those are going to be jobs are you got to have in those fields too. I mean, if you know about hardware, if you know about software, those are good skills to even have. And I think that's interesting because a lot of these jobs that he's mentioning, while you got retail here, we don't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know what, and he's like he says in the video, I don't know what's going to be for what's it going to be for those young children. I don't even know. So let's continue.
Most of what they learn is going to be irrelevant to the requirements of the job market and of society in 2050. What to teach them instead, we just don't know. And the worst problem, of course, is not in the developed countries, but in the developing countries. If you think about a country like, I don't know, Sweden, which now gets a lot of attention.
Oh, of course,
in
he's
the
going
US.
to end up comparing to things
So I'm
like
not
Sweden.
so worried about the
geez.
Swedes. I mean, even if millions of jobs are lost in Sweden, I think that because of the tradition of the welfare state and so forth, the Swedish government will raise taxes on the big companies and universal basic income or something like that. The Swedes will be okay, I think. The really big question is what will happen to the Nigerians, to the Bangladeshi, to the Brazilians. If millions of textile workers in Bangladesh lose their jobs because of automation, what will they do? I mean, we are not teaching the children of Bangladesh today to be software engineers. What will they do in 20 or 30 years? And do you really think that, I don't know, the US government will raise taxes on Google and Amazon in California and use that to pay basic income to the unemployed Bangladeshi? If you believe that, you can just as well believe that Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny will come and take care of the Bangladeshi. Because I don't think this is a realistic solution. Nobody knows what the solution is. So we may be facing, in the 21st century, a completely new kind of inequality, which we have never seen before in human history. On the one hand, the emergence of a new upgraded elite of superhumans enhanced by bioengineering and brain-computer interfaces and things like that. And on the other hand, a new, massive, useless class. A class that has no military or economic usefulness and therefore also no political power.
Okay. Now, that part that he goes on to say at the last part, which brought my attention about the having the working class into the useless class. To me, anyone that's hearing this, I'm sure that must be pretty offensive to hear someone to say the useless class. And first of all, I know that is a really tough thing to hear someone to say useless. And I do think that is, for someone listening, I think that would be quite offensive to call someone or the working class the useless class. To hear that too. And plus, even though that's a part I made this, there's some parts I've disagreed, or which I'm sure you've heard me talk about bits and pieces of it. And again, this is where I'm saying is that, first of all, anyone listening to is hearing that word useless class. See, that's the problem. A lot of these people don't even know what to do, how they're going to get jobs later down the road. Which, by the way, you cannot find jobs for anybody that is trying to look for a job that's probably in your teens. Look, I've worked at the restaurant jobs. I've worked at retail. And let me tell you something. I mean, a lot of people are not even talking about this right there. I mean, right now we've got the Musk, the Bezos, the Gates, those top 3 guys right now, and you look at these guys, look at how much they're doing, and the other part I see is, for one, what are they going to do? And plus, you got people older, just pretty much basically around my age, and the other ones 30 and over. I'm sure probably they don't even have the skills. I mean, unless if you have the computer skills, the basic coding skills to get around and to going and succeeding, that's fine. Now that's one problem I can see right there is what how many of these people are going to succeed and how many of these people are going to do it. First of all, it's like the film that I've watched years ago called Wall-E. It's basically about these young, overweight people sitting around doing nothing and letting the robots do their bidding, basically being servitudes. Which that's probably the word I can describe laziness. And that's one thing is like, what are they going to do? Just sit around, eat popcorn, eat potato chips all day, lounging around? I don't know. That I think that is the most depressing feature I could find out further down the road. That is something I don't like to see. And here's what I'm going to put down. The other part, a lot of people don't even think about, are the Tesla bots. And yes, they are. That's a thing. The Tesla bots. And I'm sure if you follow up on Tesla really well, they are developing on bots. And I'm not talking about just basically robots. Like, in fact, if you go to Tesla.com or Tesla.com/AI, they are in the process of working in a bot. You go ahead, you scroll down, and it'll say Tesla bot, and right there it says develop the next generation of automation, including a general purpose bipedal, a humanoid robot capable of performing tasks that are unsafe, repetitive, or boring. We're seeking mechanical, electrical controls, and software engineers to help us leverage our AI expertise beyond our vehicle fleet. Jeez, Jesus Christ! I mean, if you think this is not hasn't gone this far as say iRobot, next level, you know, you I don't even think you guys understand. I mean, this is not conspiracy. And the fact is that those fuckers are definitely going to just jump in and take over. And if you guys are just thinking the other way, say, they're not taking their jobs, don't worry about it. You are absolutely wrong. They are the replacement for you. And that will be a time that it will not be exciting that when that day comes. And I can definitely tell that when many people face this harsh reality that what's going to happen to a lot of these people, and then they stay naive about this, I don't think they're going to be able to take that back. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to take back the words that they're going to say. I don't, and that's the thing. There's no changing anyone's mind. And the fact is that you got companies, so many companies, I don't know, Nvidia, Tesla, and I believe AMD. I'm not too sure about AMD on this one. Microsoft definitely. They are developing AI, and look at that. Look at this way right now too. They've got Tesla, developing those bots, doing clothing, mechanical, electrical, software engineering, basically doing general purpose stuff like shopping. And of course, shopping is not for everybody, and I'm sure it's there for some people, especially with the extroverts that love to go out, spend money out, and do all that good stuff right there too. But I can imagine that our future is definitely going to be very lonely, where to a point that it's not going to be something a lot of people will be excited about. Now, the thing about Teslas that I will say is that sure everybody's not going to own a Tesla, but throughout its first about its first release. Sure, they're gonna have to fix it with a lot of bugs and stuff like that too. But imagine having to go through this, and then you look ahead right now 20 years or 30 years later, or maybe much sooner, where things are going to take over much faster. And then with what you've said before that, and saying that would never ever happen. Sadly enough, people are going to stay naive, and they're going to have to end up taking their words back, what they've said a few years ago, and say, oh shit, I cannot work anymore because of those things. Thanks a lot, Elon. Thanks a lot, Microsoft. Those division right there for doing this shit. And what the hell am I gonna do now? I cannot pay my bills. I cannot pay rent. All that, and that kind of tells you that definitely this is gonna hurt a lot of people if you don't have the skills to go through the future and help. And I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. But if you went to college and studied about some bullshit for 4 years, studying useless things, while you could have had studied all these coding, these things at home, and there's so much information you could become a coder, man, you have lost your 4 years. And I'm sad to say this, and I'm not taking the words back out of my mouth. And believe me, there are so many useful things. Look at right now what's going on right now too. You've got right now the young entrepreneurs doing something for them. They are doing modeling. They're doing voice work. They're doing things right at their own home. And yet you're still working in a 9 to 5? Get out of here. And I can even imagine people that are pilots, they're going to be replaced as well. And if you don't think that Delta are going to lay off pilots, oh, it's most definitely going to happen. Pilots from Delta, United, Southwest, all these travel agencies are going to be replaced. Let alone, I'm sure they won't be replaced right away, but over time they will, unless if somebody has that bright skill, in that bright mindset where they have planes successfully automated. That'll be really unique and neat right there too. I mean, I'm sure that will fix a lot of the human error where a lot of pilots have to go through, and I'm sure. Look, they've already have electric vehicles successfully done thanks to Tesla. Now, I'm sure they're gonna have electric airplanes. I'm sure that will happen, and that will replace fuel fuel planes or gas operated planes right now. That's not going to happen overnight. They have to work and test these things again till it's pretty much tested real well to take it out on the field and take it out on the real world, especially too. And I'm sure with Delta and all these airlines making millions after millions or billions each year, you damn well know that they're going to end up investing on planes like this too. And that will eventually happen. That will. And if you think, if you're like the pilot, let me put it this way. If you're like the pilot that's thinking, that's not going to replace my job. No. You are mistakenly naive, but then also stupid as well. Believe me, it's going to be very harsh when many people cannot wake up when that time comes too. And that's where it's gonna hurt a lot of people the most, unfortunately. Very, very unfortunate. So, again, I hate to be the downer, but lots of it is very, very true. But to put it on this podcast right there, I'm and foremost, I don't got much to say. A lot of the things I will put down is yes, it is going to be depressing, but if you are young and if you got some talent, right now it's a good time to develop some talents, develop learning, develop new skills for the IoT, the Internet of Things. That's what I mean. If you got the talent right now too, that you could develop right now, and something that you cannot be irreplaceable. Like for instance, artists cannot be replaced. You are your own voice. I'm a podcaster. Nobody cannot replace my voice to anybody because I am Leon the Great. That personal persona cannot be replaced by anyone. So you gotta remember one thing. I am a podcaster. I love doing podcasts like this too. Now, if you're a model, there's a lot of money to be made. Go out there. If you are doing something for the digital age like NFTs, good opportunities. Start flipping or do whatever that you can. Because right now, later on down the road, yes, you got jobs that are hiring. But right now, with the economy, where I can see down the road, that is going to be replaced. There's no way in God's green earth that I would go out and keep a regular job for a long time. I honestly don't think that will ever happen. To see myself keeping a regular job for a long time, I think it'll be a big mistake to keep a job and stay safe. While for me, on the other hand, and for me is to learn new skills, take some risk instead of having to feel safe all the time, which is not true because the fact of the matter is that when you go out and see your parents and how you're taught, and the way I was taught, especially, where is to work your ass off, start saving money, all that, all these lessons I get from my parents, right? But right now, that's not true anymore. You don't gain nothing out of your savings. The way I was taught back then, from the yesteryears of my parents, would not be the same of today. Okay? Because there's a reason that so many things are changing. And you cannot rely on that anymore too. That old mentality of saving up for a pension and save up for retirement. Like, why are you doing that? I mean, what the hell? Are you trying to build up Social Security? I mean, right now, it's like you might want to find something where you can be an entrepreneur and start working on skills to be an entrepreneur right now. Right now, it is such a good time to do so. Entrepreneurship on the web hasn't been so good as of right now. If you want to be your own entrepreneur, work for Uber as a side hustle and use that time to build up and raise capital for your own money, for your own company, and do that. There's so much going on. And how come you're still working at 9 to 5 and not developing your own business? That's where I have a problem with that. That's where I have a problem where a lot of people don't take these skills, not make the effort of doing something right there too. But besides that, that's their problem. I find that is their problem that they've got to deal with too. And if they don't start becoming creative enough on doing something that they are very passionate of doing, guess what? They're going to fall. And for ones that are very creative and knows how to go where things are going at this point, especially if you know computers, if you know how to be creative down the road with the Internet of Things, what's going on, and there's a lot of money to be made of in the internet. And there's a lot of these internet entrepreneurs out there too. Just get your butt moving. Sure, save some money, use that money to invest on things that you're gonna use. And for me, that's where I'm going. If you don't want to be replaced, and if you don't want to be stuck in your last leg, sitting around doing retail all the time, now it's the time to develop new skills that it'll be useful in the future. Which, while I have to say that I disagree with the guy about, and what I would say that is a disrespectful thing to call people, the working class people, the useless class. I have to say that for you, you'll end up becoming the useless class if you don't do something about it, and you don't put some skills down together too. And if you know what you can do so. That's my advice for the future down the road. In that way, you don't be stuck doing what you hate, but do something that you know what you love. That's the lesson behind that. Also, everyone, thanks for coming in and checking out the Leland Gray podcast and taking a listen. I always appreciate every single one of you coming by and taking a listen each week for new episodes, and most certainly appreciate it too. By the way, I want to let everyone know that I have a Patreon, so if you want to support me on Patreon, I am now available on Patreon, so any amount helps. Buy me a coffee or Ko-Fi or any of your choice to support me is widely appreciated too. So guys, thank you so much, and take care. Enjoy yourselves. Bye for now.